Now, when you're aggregating data, you're basically sending your data from many different sources, like sensor feeds, data processing pipelines, data streams, log feeds, data warehouses, databases, into Amazon S3 to store and use for business applications. This is where many of our customers actually shift another part of their architectures from a legacy batch system to using real-time data streaming services. Many of our customers now are using AWS services like our managed Kafka service or Kinesis data streams to aggregate all that data in real time from all of these different sources to consolidate, process, and analyze large volumes of information in just one data pipeline. Now, many of you in the audience today are already using the aggregate data pattern, and you are in good company. It is the reason we have over 1 million data lakes running on AWS. And we find that customers like the aggregate data pattern because the federated ownership model works well for your organization. It works well culturally, and it works well with your different business units when you have so many different application owners. And when you have Amazon S3 as the foundation of aggregate, this data pattern will give you the most flexibility in how you want to use your data across a distributed organization with many application owners. For one example of aggregate, Georgia-Pacific, a pulp and paper manufacturer, streams real-time data from over 85,000 vibration sensors on their production line so they can correlate the telemetry streams from their connected equipment and production lines with other business data like scheduled maintenance so that they can build accurate predictive maintenance models. That is an example of aggregation of your data, again, using a real-time streaming model. Now, there are a lot of advantages to aggregate. By centralizing your data in Amazon S3, which is the common storage layer across all three of these data patterns, application and other members of the team, like data scientists or AI researchers, they have access to a wide variety of raw and processed data sets to use for experiments and application innovation. Simply the act of bringing your data together into one place can significantly change the speed of your business. For example, Invista used to run analytics on their visual inspection site, stored in silos in each plant site. Before their migration to AWS, it took their data scientists 2 months to get their hands on just one plant site's historical data to perform analytics. And by bringing all of that data into AWS, now they can do their analytics in minutes or hours on an aggregated data set because it's more self-service. However, if you are using the aggregate model today, or you plan to, the key to success in the aggregate model is to apply standards in a federated model of data ownership. Okay? So I'm going to give you some examples of different standards. It starts with putting all of the data in S3. That is one standard. For example, Roche, a pioneer in healthcare, they use Amazon S3 to store all their data, genome sequences, radiology images, voice recordings, videos, medical publications, you name it. And when they standardize in a second way, which is to do a single ETL pipeline. Okay? And so they're using S3, but they run all their data through a single ETL pipeline, and that gives them standardization because it enforces consistent and accurate results across different document types, which helps their different users, like analysts or business users, accelerate the time to get to the data that they need for the right task at hand. In addition, I have to say, many of our largest AWS customers, and that means Netflix, Nubank, Lyft, Pinterest, I can go on and on, they are now standardizing on a file format called Apache Parquet. And they're using it to store their business data, with many of them using open source Apache Iceberg to represent that Parquet data as a table, to update it and to interact with it with SQL queries. Now, any text or numerical data that can be represented as a table, like credit scoring, transaction records, inventory reporting, All that data can and is very often stored in Parquet files in S3. It is a very common form of standardization in data lakes today. In fact, that means that Parquet is one of my most fastest growing data types in S3. I have exabytes of Parquet data stored in S3 today, exabytes of Parquet. Parquet is not a very big file type. It's a compressed format. I have exabytes of it. Customers make over 15 million requests per second to Parquet data, and we end up serving over just hundreds of petabytes of Parquet every day for requests. That should give you a sense of how that has gotten standardized in the largest data lakes running on AWS. Now, this combination of Parquet files in S3 and Apache Iceberg, it's what's powering these data lakes for some of the most data-intensive companies. Pinterest has over an exabyte of data in their data lake. They have thousands of business-critical Iceberg table, and they are an example of a company that has standardized all their tabular data on Parquet.